Okay, so I'm gonna go over a few things real quick, and then I'll explain the who and why of it all afterwards. On the Weber carb, again, this is something I didn't know. If it wasn't for the fact that I still have the paperwork for it when it came with the kit, I wouldn't actually know this. This is this, what do you call it, the speed screw. This one right here. It was a little tough. I don't know how you'd be able to get to it. It'd be a little tough to slide an actual screw through there, especially a big one. You might be able to get a thinner one through there, so I used a wrench to turn it. And that will, if I'm not mistaken, will adjust the throttle cable by the looks of it, and it'll either increase or decrease your the engine's idle. And the idle mix screws, I believe that's what they're called. There's one on the left side, right here, and one on the right side. I can get it in frame and actually point at it with this screw. Let's see if I can get it in frame first. Hopefully you guys can see it. Just a shade out of focus. But hopefully you can see me tapping it. It's on this side. And you can almost see, if you're adjusting the one on the right, you could almost feel like you wouldn't be able to get because of the valve cover, you wouldn't be able to slide it in there, but it does fit. It's a little at an odd angle, but you can. It's just, you have just enough leeway to make the adjustment. But the paperwork says to turn the screw clockwise when you're making your adjustments. You're essentially closing it all the way by turning it clockwise. And then as soon as it stops, you want to stop there. You don't want to turn it anymore, otherwise you'll start stripping stuff or breaking or damaging. Have your engine on, and then slowly start backing out. I did maybe, I don't know, not much, maybe like a quarter return at a time until I got things fixed or running the way they should. And I also replaced all the relays. I should have done it long ago, but this last time I actually did it. And I also replaced the intake ignition control module. The reason I did that, hopefully this shows up. You can see that crack in the middle, and then there should be one. Hopefully there's another crack right up here. This thing just went Hiroshima on me. Not all at once, mind you. I think it was failing a little at a time. And this is a little bit over a year old. The one that I originally had from the intake side. From what I've read, like in the past, I recall people saying that these can tend to fail, especially if they're newer ones. I'm thinking, stuff that's made in the 70s and 80s was made to last a lot longer. And the newer stuff, as everyone knows, is always breaking and all that good stuff. But anyway, and I also wanted to show you guys physically how this works, like actually show it to you in action. So I do have footage, because I already replaced all these items and fixed everything. I do have footage of this this is how I learned that the ignition control module on the intake side was bad, by hooking one end to the ignition coil, on the other, I'm sorry, it's actually, yeah, it was this way, and then this end right here to this wire over here, this spark wire, or ignition wire, whatever you want to call it, and there was literally no spark at all. And just to verify, you know, that what I was seeing, I hooked it up to this one, and this one was sparking really good. So the reason I did this, I was getting really bad sparks. That was part of the problem. It's like all these different things going wrong all at the same time. And that can be a little frustrating, trying to diagnose, you know, what the problem is, especially when it's multiple things. So again, that was part of the problem, because that was failing, and then it eventually did fail. And if I'm not mistaken, either the fuel pump relay or the main relay, but I'm gonna say it was the fuel pump, just in case. It might have been the fuel pump, but it could have been either one of these that was failing, and then eventually completely failed. As I managed to limp the truck home, I mean, it was idling rough, like crazy rough. And again, that was because the intake side wasn't working. So I had, you know, I checked, got the multimeter and checked both the harness part, on the harness, wiring harness aspect of the ignition coils. They were all getting power, so that the harness wasn't the issue, and the distributor was getting power as well. But when I rechecked the next morning, no power to either ignition coils and no power to the distributor. And whichever one of these is in charge of that was the relay that went out, like completely went out. So again, you know, I switched all the relays, 4 in under the hood, and then 2 underneath the, or right by the fuse box, or on the fuse box. So again, causing all kinds of problems. And I had to adjust the speed screw, because my nephew had kind of messed with it, and it was idling just a little too fast, so I had to readjust it until the idle went back to normal. And I was a little nervous about messing with the mixture screws, because I'd never messed with that aspect of the Weber carb. But thankfully, you know, it worked out. But the reason I was doing that was, again, because of the bad spark. When I pulled all the spark plugs out, there was so much carbon buildup in them. It was horrible, and they were actually new. I had just replaced them; they were new, and there was an abnormal amount of black smoke in the tailpipe. I mean, it was bad. It was pretty bad. So I ordered the relays, the new ignition control module, and did the adjustments on the Weber carb, and it's running good again. So what I'm going to do is hook this up again. I already have footage of this not working, you know, having the spark tester, and hopefully I'll be able to hook it up. Okay, so I managed to, my nephew's going to help me out, and I want to show you guys the difference between a working and a non-working ignition control module. If it's not working, it'll affect the spark, and you'll see the difference. This one's actually bad. It went out, you know, it happens. It's probably like a year old, so I got a new one. But I'm gonna have my nephew start the truck for me so you can see how little of a spark there is. Anytime you're ready.
Is it in gear?
Probably. You might want to, I don't know, put the emergency, well, I don't know if I took it off, the emergency brake off or not.
In neutral.
Okay. As you can see, there was virtually no spark at all. Okay. So. Okay. I showed you the tailpipe just to show you that there is no more black smoke. I mean, there was a lot, like crazy unburnt fuel, and it was very strong, and it would irritate your eyes. But if you can see from before how charred this is with carbon, and even this part of the bed. And the spark plug tester, and hopefully you can see in the footage of it doing its thing, showing you that the spark plugs got power, and distributor is doing its thing. Everything working. The spark is actually more vibrant and bright, like to the naked eye, than at least from what I could see when I was looking at the screen as I'm recording. It's not quite as bright. Hopefully this thing will come out properly, because it was kind of in a sad way, kind of falling apart a little bit. Let me give me a second. Okay, but anyway, yeah, there was a lot of different symptoms from each of these three components going bad. Each of them causing different problems and giving you the illusion, kind of sort of, that something else is wrong. It's like something more. I don't want to say that the carb was necessarily shooting out too much gas, but that was kind of sort of the illusion that was giving out, that was being given, because the spark plugs being so black and charred. And that was, again, that was actually because the ignition coil, or the module, was fried and not burning up the gas. So it was giving the illusion that the carb was shooting out too much gas, and that would have meant that the fuel pressure regulator was too high, or it probably would have meant that it was too high. But that wasn't. These weren't actually really the problem, but I did have to adjust them because of the no spark situation, and everything is running the way it should. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. It can be a pain sometimes when multiple things go wrong at the same time. That's probably the worst thing, because one thing could be causing a particular thing and give the illusion that it's something else. It's just it's just a big mess. But thankfully I was able to figure that out, and now, having messed with the speed and the idle screws on the Weber, I have a little bit of better understanding of what to do next time if something like that happens again. So at least in that aspect, it's a good thing. I have a little bit more knowledge and understanding now, But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that little bit, and I'm glad I was able to at least show you how this sucker works and show it in action. So, but yeah, that's the aspect of if you have a no spark situation, check your, get your multimeter. If you're not getting any power at all, it's either your relay or your shoot, why can't I think of what it's called right now? Your Fusible Links. You guys know where those are at on your vehicle. So it'll be either of those or your wiring harness that's causing the issue. If you have no power going to that at all, that'll be that. But if you do have power going to your harness, then the likely culprit will either be one of your ignition control modules or ignition coils. Maybe might even be your spark plug wires that are bad, or even your spark plugs. It's just a matter of testing them all, figuring it out, and I guess the Weber carb. Messing with your the speed and idle screws, but do small, tiny corrections. Don't make big ones, because that'll might make things worse. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense, and I'll see you.